pleasant Sunday morning to you. Thank you for joining us on the Your Lurgan Podcast. I'm Dominic McCone.
And I'm Michael Scott.
And you're in your home base today. You're not away gallivanting, counting all. Well, you weren't doing the counting, but it seems as if you were going to be there half a lifetime. But all that's behind us now, isn't it?
I can assure you, Don, it felt like half a lifetime. It was horrendous. It was horrendous. The Wi-Fi wouldn't work. The count was that slow. I ended up working on Saturday as well, covering the count, and ended up just covering it from home because it just couldn't work in Magherafelt. It was awful.
Don't say that about the people of Magherafelt now. It wasn't anything to do with them, of course.
Of course, the people of Magherafelt are sound people. It's the setup that was put in place by the electoral office. But I got there, I got finished up because we were doing a Northern Ireland wide blog. I got finished up at 1:30 on Sunday morning. So it's only taken me till now to recover from that. It was horrendous.
Without looking at the whole country, let's look at the ABC Council District, or Upper Ban as the constituency was. Surprises, or did it go as you expected?
Well, I don't know if many people would have been expecting Owen Tennyson to get the seat. No disrespect to Owen, but I mean, all the talk was in the build-up to the election that it was going to be Dolores Kelly versus Diane Dodds. So when Diane got across the line fairly comfortably in the end, we were sort of wondering, we sort of knew early on, I think we alluded to this last week in the podcast in the very early stages of the count, whenever we were recording last week, that Dolores was possibly on a bit of a sticky wicket. It was just a question of who would actually take her seat. Would it be Diane Dodds? Would it be Liam Mackle, who came very close in the end for Sinn Féin? Or would it be Owen? And Owen and his team, Peter Lavery, were playing their cards very close to their chest the whole way along. They didn't know whether they were in 1 minute, they were in 1 minute, they were out. But they got over the line in the end. So big change in Upper Ban. Dolores Kelly bows out after serving the community, for decades in this part of the world, both as a councillor and then as an MLA. Former SDLP deputy leader at one stage as well.
Quite a shock to her system, obviously, and as opposed to those around her.
It was actually
the return was extremely low, considering all expectations.
In fact, I think at the time whenever we were doing the live blog, you could hear the audible gasps. I think it would have been on the cards for a while that Dolores, from early doors in the count, would be losing their seat, but still, when it happened, people just went. It was a big moment.
What implication do you think it will have to the constituency itself, this new blood, as it were, this young new blood? Because we haven't had someone as young for quite a while. I suppose perhaps the second DUP kind of candidate or the TUV candidates might have been a bit young, but it is a pretty young contender, isn't he? Young.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it shows that there's an appetite out there, and I think if you look at the overall election result, there's very much an appetite out there for middle ground politics, which is why the Alliance Party have come back with 17 MLAs. So I think you see now you've got three camps, three very clearly defined camps. Those who define themselves as unionists, those who define themselves as nationalists, and those who define themselves as, I suppose, other, for want of a better term. Which I suppose was always the case this tournament, but that other group has now got fairly big. So it'll be very interesting to see what happens over the course. Well, of course, nothing's going to happen for the next while.
I was just about to allude that there might not be anything happening for quite a substantial while, as it were. We don't need to go into that. There were locals pushing for that a point of view, local parties. Some of them got in and some of them didn't. But regardless of all of that, there will be some changes in the structure of what happens at Stormont, because fresh news is we've got local input into some of the ministerial responsibilities, albeit in the short term and with limited responsibility.
Yes. Well, of course, Friday was the day that Stormont returned, albeit briefly, to try and elect a speaker. That didn't happen, as we all know now. Pretty much straight after the conclusion of business, Michelle O'Neill of Sinn Féin went up to the microphone in the Great Hall and give her views on the matter. And then at the very end, she dropped in that, of course, we all know that because Sinn Féin or the SDLP don't have enough seats, they've decided that, well, strictly speaking, they're still entitled to the seat, or to the ministry, but because they don't have a mandate at the moment, they've decided that they're not going to take up the infrastructure minister's position, which was previously filled by Nicola Mallon, who lost her seat in North Belfast at the last election. So therefore, it falls then to Sinn Féin to fill that void, and they have filled the void by putting John O'Dowd in the position, the Upper Ban MLA. So John comes in. Of course, he's got ministerial experience in the past. He was education minister for a while, I think around 2011 through about 2016. So he had a good long stretch at it. He also acted as temporary deputy first minister for a while, whenever I think Martin McGuinness had maybe taken some time out to receive treatment. Could be wrong on that there, but it was around 2011 as well. So he comes in. I'm sure he'll get the grips with the job, albeit he'll not have all the powers he would have had due to the fact that the executive isn't sitting.
I know when I worked in a different jurisdiction south of the border, there were constituencies that had ministers in the southern government, and there was without doubt benefit to those constituencies because that minister was there, whether it was allowable or otherwise it happened. Is it likely that such benefit can accrue to our locale because we have a minister in that particular position, or is it beyond the constraints of that minister to do anything as effectively in his own area?
Well, in the current climate, it's very hard to tell what a minister can do and can't do. So I suppose any minister wants to try and look after his own people. Well, he or she wants to look after everybody in the community, let's be honest, right across the place, but they particularly want to look after their own voters. So it will be interesting to see in the short time that John O'Dowd is infrastructure minister, what he can do for Upper Ban.
Well, we were talking about potholes last week
we were.
in the programme, so maybe it might be good news for those particular people in the Cusher district that you were talking about last week.
That's right. And you know what? There's potholes all over the place. So yes, funding needs released to get that sorted out, because I was up a road. It wasn't in the Cusher area. It was what constituency or what area was it? It was part of the ABC area anyway. Probably in around Armagh. We'll say the Armagh area, in the sort of countryside part of Armagh, and the roads were awful. I'm talking potholes that you could probably take a bath in. They were brutal. So yes, something needs to be done about the state of the roads, particularly in around the country.
Once again, back to a previous kind of jurisdiction I worked in, just south of the border, Cavan Monaghan. In one occasion in the early 90s, they actually had a couple of candidates who stood for election in the local council, for Cavan Council in particular, as potholing campaigners, and they got elected. That was how serious it was. And now the roles have reversed, as it were. The roads here are not just as well maintained as they are in Southern Ireland. It's kind of amazing.
It really is, but that's what we are now. I mean, the money needs to be released to get it sorted out, but we just need to wait and see if it's going to happen. I don't think it'll be in the next 6 months, put it like that.
I won't be holding my breath.
No.
What other stories? Well, I know the biggest story besides election news this week has been the announcement by Danske Bank. No surprise to many who watch the banking situation, that they are pulling out of banking services in Lurgan, for where they've been one way or another in that particular bank since the 1830s and 40s, whether it was the Belfast Bank or the Northern Bank or whatever it would have been. Big surprise for many.
It was a big surprise to some. I suppose, again, as you say, if you follow the banking situation, probably not that big a surprise. I mean, I was trying to think last night, the last time I actually set foot in the bank, and it probably would have been just to lodge a check in centre or something like that. But you do all your banking now on your phone or online. It's not. Banks have sort of become one of those things, sadly, that people don't really use as often as they used to. it was still a shock because it is, as you say, it's sort of a landmark building in Lurgan. Everyone knows where the Northern Bank is, or sorry, the Danske Bank is. So for it to be announced that it was closing, and it's sort of, we got tipped off by it yesterday morning by a customer who had received a letter, and that came before Danske Bank had even released a statement on it. So
it probably cost you to get a statement from the bank. Oh, what a bad joke!
Joe, something that's actually a great joke. Well done. I'll give you that one. That's good.
Thank you.
That's
thank
good.
you. So you got the news from the inside before it was released outside, as it were.
Mind you, it wasn't long before, but yes, we got it from a customer that it was closing, and yeah. So I don't think they were too overly happy about it. They're like, what do we do now? Where do we go? Now, we do have, there's information in the story that we've put out. We also have a story coming on Monday, which will have further advice from the Consumer Council about what customers can do should they wish to switch banks, or where they can go if they want to make lodgements and payments and whatnot.
Well, the story caught my eye. Of course, I used to be a Danske Bank customer. I've been run out of just about every bank there is, one way or another. But I've been a customer over the time. And a couple of things strike me. I posted it elsewhere on a couple of pages that I run and do.
I read it.
And got one response, firstly from a friend who lives elsewhere, and he lives in the greater Manchester area, somewhere like that. Mother is still living here. She's in her 80s, I think, and has real difficulty in what she's going to do. Because you and I, Michael, are of an age where we understand contactless kind of payments. We understand doing things online. That's easy and for us to grasp. But what about somebody who doesn't embrace the age in which we're living, or can't, or it's past them? Mm-hmm. That's one of the saddest things. And people who have been dedicated to whatever bank it was that they were with over these years, and all of a sudden it's disappearing. And it's not just this bank. We've had the Allied Irish First Trust, whatever it's morphed into. We're likely to have, let's be honest here, the major banks, the Ulster Bank, are already pulling out of many locations around the country, north and south, as you know. The Bank of Ireland, they're probably in the same process. There isn't going to be anywhere. Unbelievable. 5-10 years ago, you would have said, if the banks are closing, we may all close up. But it's just happening beyond our control.
Yeah. The other thing as well that struck me last night was, it's another blow for the town centre, because banks bring people into the town centre. If they go into the bank, they're maybe calling them 2 or 3 other messages as well. And to take that out of the town, it's going to be as I say, a big blow to the other businesses in the town. And then you sort of wonder, with that building being the landmark that it is, what happens to it next? Who is going to buy that? I know where I am in Tandregee, living at the moment. There was a former bank. I can't remember what branch it was, or what it was a branch of, but it turned into a restaurant, which was cool, funky at the time. It's now a charity shop. And then you sort of wonder, well, what's going to happen to these other businesses? What happens to the because they're big buildings, and they've all sorts of different security stuff inside that have been built into them.
Absolutely, that makes them difficult to reconstruct, but not impossible. This opens the discussion, Michael. We've had it before off camera, and time to have it more forthrightly. And I've already reached out to a number of times to different people involved in this. The economic development part of our local council is one place we look out to. There are many other towns throughout this country and in Southern Ireland too, across the UK, who are at more than a crossroads. The crossroads have come and gone. The crossroads have moved to out of town shopping many years ago. We've got to reinvent what we do in our town centres, how we look at it. It's an overall, not a simplistic thing. It's an overall plan of where do we move forward? How do we attract people to want to invest in business terms, to want to invest in businesses that will then attract people? And then we also have a responsibility to offer people to come back to live in the towns. This is what's happening in many places. That requires not just businesses, relevant businesses. It requires coffee shops, restaurants, service industries, community centres, all sorts of things, activity centres, different way of looking at your town centre. For some, and this seems reprehensible, it might mean it's a time to think about, in the longer term, closing off your town for traffic, making it pedestrian only, so that pedestrians only will vacate there. All right, it's Ireland, it rains, so we get some cover. We put constructive cover in parts of it and encourage life back into the town, human life in numbers to live there, and then perhaps the businesses after. It's not a solution that I've got the answer to or the money to invest in myself, but I have an investment in the vision for that. And you say about the buildings, there are a number. Fairly recently, that First Trust Bank came up for sale. It's only 300,000. Michael, I'll chip in the first £3.
I'll match you.
You'll match me. So that's matching whatever. Some people are suggesting, wouldn't it be great if they gave it to this one, to that one, and to the other? Well, yes, that's a good idea, but you can't just hand it over to somebody unless they have a plan as to how it's either sustainable or really worth doing something about. And there is the trick. What is there that we can do that is worth doing, that has a community aspect, a community dynamic, perhaps a business dynamic that will bring fresh blood and life and belief? There's the hardest one. Belief back into the town. And that's not just Lurgan. It's the same for Portadown. Armagh is tackling it in some shape or size. They've got an advantage on us in many other ways, but it's so many advantages to this town. One of the biggest advantages, and we don't kind of realize it or want to realize it, is the population around us. We've 30,000 people. 30,000 people, I don't know what the census will tell us, but that's how many people live within 2 miles of the centre of this town. I mean, that's the fact of it. It doesn't matter that they're going to Craigavon or Belfast or somewhere else to shop. There has to be a way of attracting some of those people back into the town, believing in the town. It's a hobby horse of mine, as you may have guessed.
Yeah, and after that hour-long monologue, that's been the Your Lurgan Podcast.
Yeah, you can write to us and tell us how much you didn't enjoy that.
But you're right, Doc, because something needs to be done. Something needs to be done to inject some life into the town centre. I mean, we can all see that there's a sort of, I don't want to say steady decline. There's a decline, and I think that's unfair to those businesses who are there and are still fighting a very good fight in terms of bringing people into the town centre. And what the answer is, you and I probably don't quite know. Well, I mean, you've put forward some very good suggestions there in terms of like even pedestrianisation. Even part of it could be pedestrianised. We have Millennium Way in place, so there's, you could take the traffic out of the town centre, no problem, I reckon.
Well, of course, you're always going to get the negative response, and people are entitled to that belief. That's fine. It's about the parking. Once they took the parking away, it was terrible. I can go up any day of this week in my car, and I regularly do, and I'll find a parking space.
Yeah, I'm the same. So, I mean,
what the lesson or the reason might be, why would I want to drive into Lurgan unless there's something I need to go to? And that's a bigger scenario. Anyway, I think it's open for bigger debate, for wider debate. And if you give me the chance, we'll open a wider debate on this, because I've said it to you before about doing this, whether it's seminar, whether it's a group dynamic. I mean, the town manager of this town is hoping to bring the businesses together in some shape or form, finding it difficult. There was a Chamber of Commerce here for a long time. That's problematical. If you could get those people together, there's a group of basic shareholders. How do we get the other shareholders like you and me who come and use the town or live in the town to come and speak? And I don't mean this coming placating people and saying, well, we're doing our best, we're doing this, we're doing that. That is not any good any longer. It's not about placating people. It's about trying to figure out and consensually figuring out what might work for this town, and then go full guns at trying to to work towards that. Anyway, told you, hobby horse, big hobby horse for me. Anyway,
We'll move on.
So it's been a busy week externally for lots of the businesses from this area. At the Balmoral show, I'm sure you caught a couple of things we did there. I know you were fascinated by the bees, of which there are.
Yeah, brilliant.
Your favorite part of the whole week, I could tell. But they're so important, Michael.
Oh, they are. Important. Well. Yeah, we'll not go into that, but yes, they are.
This was the Ulster beekeepers who we spoke to at the show, but we did speak to a couple of other people who were there as part of the homelands part of the experience of the Balmoral show. ABC Council, to be fair, did put lots of effort into getting people there. Really was a really great part of that Northern Ireland produce building, and I saw you repeating some of the photographs that they sent out as well.
Yeah. I mean, you also had a chat with Roger Wilson, Chief Executive, yes. Who was bigging up the area for the food heartland, and of course their agri strategy was released short time ago, which you were also at the launch of. And, fair play to the council. I mean, they're giving it a go in terms of trying to, promote the businesses here that are producing some really, really good foods. In fact, one of the things that surprised me about your videos over the week, was the fact that Digby's in Killaloe, outside Armagh, which is, if you've ever been to Killaloe, you'll be well fed.
It's a brilliant restaurant. I only realised after I'd spoken to Claire that I'd been, I think maybe while we were speaking. I was familiar with the restaurant.
I didn't realise they were making jam. It looked lovely.
Diabetic, I didn't try it. Next time. Yeah. If I want the Saturday morning show, cookery show, I'll maybe try it someday. So someday maybe, do you know what? I'll set that up so that I can go and try all the good produce around here. Just for you, Michael. I'll only be doing it for you, of course.
Just go and I'd come and hold the camera. We'll both go.
Yeah, good idea. Well, I'll hold the camera while you taste. All right. That sounds like a good deal. It was really good. Do you know what was also good? I loved the idea of the show. I met a colleague or two who worked with the radio, on the radio. And you know me, when I see a microphone, I never resist. I didn't quite get on the radio again, but there was a camera crew from a Belfast-based station that does voluntary programming or community programming. And guess whose mug's going to be in the middle of it next week? Yeah, but it might be a short piece. May not, who knows? But it was always, I love hearing accents from all over the country, north and south. There were first fella I spoke to at the bank link was from Donegal. Met some people from Dublin, but equally some people from Ballymena High. And I'm not sure which I had more trouble in understanding.
Well, of course, this is all a good preamble to what we have coming up in a few weeks' time, whenever you're at the Lurgan show.
Oh, yes. Looking forward to that immensely.
You might get sampling some food at it too.
No, I don't think of the food. I just think of the fun to be had, because I've had a great life experience of going to that show over the years. It should be a lot of fun. Yeah. I was thinking taking part in the show jumping, but I can't get a saddle to put on my back.
Hey. Very good. No, it'll be good. Unfortunately, I miss it as I'm away, but no, it'll be good. I'm going to be at Armagh show the following week, though.
Oh, yeah, that should be good. Are you doing some live updates from that?
Hopefully not.
No, okay.
I'm going to be. We have booked a tent. We're camping in Gosford Forest Park that weekend. Just so happens
in Gosford. It's in Gosford, isn't it? Yeah. The 4th of June for that. It's also going to be a lot of fireworks that night too. Actually, later on, it's the is it the Golden Jubilee or the Silver
Platinum Jubilee, isn't it?
Platinum Jubilee, yeah. And I'm looking forward to that big dessert. I'm going to have one of those fancy trifles. That's what they're suggesting.
I love a big trifle.
Yeah, a mere trifle. So that's coming up. Do we have the Master McGrath Festival this month too?
Yes, it is next Saturday. Yes, the 21st. Yeah.
Oh, cool. We could do updates from that. Then I could get in for free. Oh, never said that.
No,
Best of luck. Best of luck to the folks who are doing that, promoting that. BNL, I think, are involved in that too. Well done to them. And some good gigs. Acts are, I think, are Queen's boys, the boys, Harry and the boys. Are they coming to that?
Yes, Flash Harry.
Flash Harry.
Status Quo tribute act. There's Snow Patrol tribute act.
Wow.
I
love chasing
There's
cars
as well.
I love chasing cars until I bump into the rear of the car. Yeah, I believe Chasing Cars were appearing at Ed Sheeran. I think they sang. Your man from the group appeared in that over the weekend. You might have missed that.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, there you are. Important news, but nothing to do with anything. Talking of stars, I had a lovely conversation with a lovely young artist, Niamh Murray, this week. Stunning singer. She was a classical singer. I'm sure you saw the interview, and very thoughtful, very dedicated, and prepared to fail, if that makes sense. Was prepared to put herself out there. So many people, and particularly songwriters, as you might know, won't put a song out, won't give a poem out because they're afraid of what people might say. She had that kind of feeling, but she still put it out there. I think that's a bravery that should be acknowledged. And she's a talented girl from Lurgan. That was important. So what else have we happening? I think we're on to sport now, aren't we?
Yes, bit of breaking news yesterday. If you're listening to this on Sunday, Clonard seeing a bit of an injury crisis. They have a few players out missing at the minute, which is obviously going to dent their hopes of winning the Armagh Championship again. They might be a bit worried about.
It took them 68 years to win it again. It's going to maybe take them a wee while again then by the sound of it. But I'm not sure. When does the championship start? I think it's another week or two before the actual championship.
It's a while yet, isn't it? I'm trying to think what the date was off the top of my head. I know they have a game this weekend against Armagh Harps. And then, let me see. I'm just trying to think. Can I tell you when that game is? No, I don't actually know. They're missing several players anyway. Then again, last year they managed to win the championship. The likes of Johnny Turod, Ryan Owens. There's a few other ones. I think Kieran Kelly's the latest one.
Yeah, he's the biggest. He's the biggest name that seems to have dropped out of it. A big part of Armagh this year too. He came on a couple of times in national leagues that I saw and really was impressive. So that's a bit of a disappointment, more than a bit of a disappointment for the new management, because as you know, there's a new management since last year. Tommy Coleman putting up the boots. Not actually the boots, but the managerial boots, as it were, which is a big loss. But I mean, they have a good team. They have a young, vibrant management, and they've got a great spirit about them, because they were nowhere for so long, and all of a sudden, getting to the top of the tree, it lifts all boats. And brought more competition around Lurgan too.
Well, they're the side to beat now, aren't they?
Absolutely. Clan and Gale want to beat them. The Peters everybody wants to beat them. That's the way it is. Yeah. Exciting stuff. And Eugene Craney keeping us updated as always on that particular front.
Absolutely. The other things we're looking at in sport now, I know it's not a local sport. It's not happening in Lurgan, but there are plenty of people in around Lurgan and in and around that sort of part of the world.
Is this curling?
No, it's motorbikes.
I was close.
I would reckon there'll be a fair few people who will have made the trip up and probably be waking up this morning in Portrush or Port Stewart or in around that part of the world, having gone to the northwest. The racing, of course, took place yesterday. We are recording this on Saturday morning, so we don't know what the results are yet. But hopefully it's a safe day's racing, and we have results and coverage from that courtesy of our colleagues at the Korean Chronicle to be providing that there. So yeah, I mean, they've got great weather for it as well. I mean, it's a fantastic day.
It's probably been the best weather for a few years. Well, of course, they haven't had it for COVID, so it's a reopening of that whole idea of getting out for that weekend. I'm deaf if I hear a motorbike coming down the street, but if I had to hear all of those at once, I just don't have that tolerance. But I know that people love the sport. So, as you say, it's a big, big interest. Tandrigee 100 not too long ago as well.
It was a couple of weeks ago, wasn't it? Yeah. So, I mean, I was standing at my front door racing was going on about a mile or two away, and I could hear everything that was going on. The noise of the bikes was phenomenal.
Were you into bikes yourself?
No.
There's two of us. There's two of us.
It's not a sport for me. I'm not a petrol head. I drive a Ford Fiesta and I drive it in eco mode, and it goes very, very slow until I put the foot down. But no, motorbikes wouldn't be the sport for me. But I know there's plenty of people out there who do enjoy it and have a very deep interest in the sport, and their heroes, the likes of the Dunlops and all that there. So we cater for everybody at Your Lurgan.
Absolutely. And my Facebook feed seems to be full of people who are up there for the weekend enjoying the sunshine. I remember going up just once. I think it was when I was about 19. My cousin and I went up. We went up for just decided to go up to Portrush for a bit of fun for the weekend. We didn't realise the motorbikes were on. we parked our tent on the 7th green or the 8th green of Portrush's most famous golf course. only to be ejected very early the next morning.
I can't think why.
Thank goodness the British Open wasn't on at the time. We could have been all over the television. Anyway, well, that's most of the sport. Glenavon's still involved in this kind of. They finished it, haven't they?
Season's over. Season is over. Glenavon played Glentoran on Tuesday night. We live blogged the match, which was part experimental, part saving me having to write a match report.
How did that go?
Unfortunately, Glenavon lost 2-0.
I meant more about how the blog went down.
How the blog went? The blog went well. But we actually hit with match reports sometimes wouldn't be the best read of things, particularly when Glenavon lose. But on this occasion, we managed over 2,000 views. So I think maybe we'll do more live blogging in the future, live updates from the matches.
I think this is a real secret to be seen and to be heard, because we get the same response when we do Gaelic matches. When Eugene reports on those, and particularly if we can do them live. Of course, he has his own stretch for doing that. So I completely concur. There's a hunger to hear that news. A hunger.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So no, it went down well. Unfortunately, the result didn't go well. Glenavon season now over. Glentoran, who actually won that match, played in the playoff final on Friday night, and after going 2-0 up, ended up losing 4-2 in extra time. So this
was for a position in Europe for next year.
It was the European playoff semi-final on Tuesday night, and then the final was last night, and the winners then qualified for Europe. So Larne are on their way to the Europa Conference League, it's called.
Isn't that an amazing story in itself? Larne, in the last, 4 or 5 years, maybe even less, have gone from virtually nowhere to be top of the tree.
Yeah.
Built brick upon brick upon purple brick upon.
Yes, and here's me making my appeal now. If there's anybody out there for a few quid who wants to invest in a football club, Glenavon will be very happy to hear from you.
Well, there's a few people around the Dodger Stadium who will maybe throw in a few zillion if they're not buying Manchester United. Wait, watch this space indeed. Maybe they'll give us the money to buy the Danske Bank, and then we can do whatever we like with it.
Yeah, what should we do with it? Will we turn it in the community centre, or will we find something more interesting to do with
it? I'll save my ideas for another platform.
Yes, I think I'll save mine for another platform too.
That's it for this week. If you've been listening, give us your thoughts, good, bad, or indifferent. We promise not to ignore the bad or the indifferent. We're really just looking for your praise, but we are now. We're looking for your feedback. info@yourlurgan.com. You can catch us on the website. Give us all the details of all that.
Yeah, www.yourlurgan.com is the website. You can catch us on social media as well. We're on Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram. All you need to do is search for @YourLurgan and you'll find us. And you can send us if you've got a story, or if you just want to comment on one of our stories, feel free to send us a private message, or as Donna says there, send us a email.
Just to confirm, because Elon Musk is listening to this program, our Twitter account is not fake.
No, it's not fake. It's real. I run it. You can send me a message directly. Oh, before we go, I have to say, congratulations and well done to our deputy head of digital content, Johnny McNabb. My deputy, my number two, who is getting married He got married on Saturday. Yeah.
Is congratulations the right word? Oh yeah. Sorry. Sorry. Cynical old me there. Yeah.
Yeah. So well done to him.
Well done, Johnny. We look forward to getting a piece of the cake so we can come home and dream about our future brides. Well, I can anyway. Michael, thank you. I'm Donald McKeown for Your Lurgan.
I'm Michael Scott, also for Your Lurgan.
And thank you so much for listening.